Continuing the Agashan Discourses by Bill Eisen, again from the recordings down through the years of the Agashan movement, and continuing the stories that Jesus tells in this book of his the truth of his life, his birth, and his death. I'll reread the last paragraph. However, I was not born into this life in the manner they would have it today. To you children it does not matter, but I was adopted, blessed children, by those who wanted to help me. In reality, I was discarded. Yes, I was discarded. I was a discarded soul, perhaps you would say, in the eyes of man, but I was then later taken up by one who cared, and I was fostered in such a beautiful way. I was cared for and well fed, and I realized then that I was not really an orphan, but that I was merely awaiting the time when I would reach the consciousness to know who my parents actually were. Yes, it has all been confusing down through the ages. Perhaps as an individual it does not matter, but I am letting you, blessed disciples, understand that my life was the same as anyone else's, only I was an instrument. I was an inspired one. Later, after I found out that I was not with my parents, I said unto my foster parents one day, I shall know them in time. And they replied, Yes, you shall know in time. But let us say unto you now, that we would have cared for you and looked after you just the same. We do not know these strange powers that you possess, not altogether, but in time you will understand that we realize you are different. I said, No, I am no different from anyone else. It is just that I have received the call, and I want to go forth and bring my message unto mankind. Yes, how often had I gone from one village to another as a mere boy, and all the time that I was walking, I was receiving inspirations. But it was very hot at times, and very dusty, and I can recall that sometimes I had not even sandals to wear. And yet my life seemed to be so strange, and it was as though something was being held from me. It was, but there was a reason back of everything in my life, the same as there is a reason why certain things are held from you in your life. I also lived in poverty. I lived under great duress, yet I knew my mission. My people whom I lived with were very poor indeed, and we had but very little bread and wine at times to partake of for health, and yet we were always somehow provided for, because the angels of light saw the toil of those souls who were near me, and thus watched over us. I also worked myself, doing work in the fields, as well as doing carpentry, and I tried to build and bring buildings and homes into manifestation, the same as any other carpenter or anyone else would do. Now, seership in those days was sought after, and prophets and seeresses were quite well known. Many had sought the prophet, for they had learned that one could foretell the future to an appreciable extent. So they sought wherever the prophet would be, and if one did not care to seek, it was his privilege. Seership was all in order, and there was no harm done. There were many great prophets in my time. Therefore, when these wise men, as some would call them, men who had unfolded their latent powers, told me that here they saw a boy who had potentials and would be the one to fulfill the mission that I had to perform, I was in awe. Heretofore it had been held from me. It was very much like what a boy today would say in his vernacular. Who, me? You mean that I am going to do that? So it was told, but not elaborated on, and I went away and I pondered over it. I said to myself, could this be right? Could what they have said be true? I had always been taught to respect my elders, but it was only mortal for me as a boy to question, could it be that these men have told me something that is untrue? Then it was revealed Shortly thereafter I saw visions, and I saw beautiful things, and I heard the voices, by direct voice, inner voice. All of that came to me, but it was not worrisome. It seemed as though when it came to me I was expecting it, yet mortally I had not expected it, not even after I was told that I was going to have these experiences. But suddenly it came my way. My mission was to be just what the men had said it was to be. I remember being told by the exalted ones as they descended unto me, "Now the road will be rough, and there will be many, many thorns that will prick you along the way, but you must stand them. You are mortal, you are of the flesh, and there shall be many sorrowful days, and you will be mortal enough to want to run away and to isolate yourself, to be far removed from society, but you must not whimper, and you must not be in despair." Thus I realized all the more that I was getting stronger, and my mission to perform was moving closer. Okay, I think time's up. I'll continue in a minute.